Coming up after the break, does throwing money at a problem really work? We're going to find out as Canada and 20 other countries promise to double the amount they're spending on clean energy research. The Roundup is next. When the Joe Fresh store opened on Fifth Avenue in New York in 2012, Mayor Bloomberg called it the greatest Canadian export since Justin Bieber. Well, one of those icons has come to an end. That story kicks us off on the Roundup. Nicole Verkindt is the founder and president of OMX. Nicole, Loblaw says it is shutting down the last of its New York operations. What went wrong?
Well, I think a lot of Canadian stores have had a hard time in the U.S. market, retail especially. I mean, there's a program in France that I love, and it's focused on the blue ocean concept, like getting away from the sharks and the bloody waters. And when I think about fashion, retail, and New York, that feels like the epitome of swimming in the middle of the bloody waters. I think a lot of Canadian retailers have had a hard time in the U.S., and I think this is another story, but it's a great brand. I think they'll do well in the Philippines.
That's right, because they're closing down there, but they're expanding in the Philippines, South Korea, Egypt, 140 global stores in 23 countries.
Yeah,
so it's not like this brand.
It's great fashion, it's low cost, and they're going into markets where that's an appealing value proposition. In the U.S., you have Target, you have so much competition.
Yeah. And I mean, their in-store sort of boutique within a store sort of seems to work in a lot of places, just didn't work in New York, alas. So Ottawa has promised $775 million for clean energy research by 2020. Is the notion here that enough people get on board with enough promises like that, which isn't going to break the bank, but it's an awful lot of money, that it could tip renewable resources into sort of profitability or viability at the very least?
Yeah, that's the idea. I think it's fantastic. When I read the headline of that story, I thought, damn it, more money for R&D, that's good. But entrepreneurs, all the money goes into commercialization, really. A huge portion of the funding and the startup costs go into commercialization. It's just so expensive to commercialize. Yeah. And so when I read through, I thought, oh, wow, this is great. They're focusing on commercialization. My concern is if the government is going to use this money to pick the winners and pick which horses they're going to back. I would rather see them investing in venture capital funds. They're going to let free markets and industry pick those winners, or tax incentives or other methods. But I mean, we're going to see so much money that's raised over in the next couple of years just from putting a price on carbon all around the world. We're going to see billions and billions of dollars. They're saying $7 billion in Ontario alone in the next 4 years. And so hopefully that money gets deployed in an efficient manner and unleash the money to entrepreneurs and let entrepreneurs.
We've got a clip from Barack Obama when this is part of the sort of Paris climate deal. Here's what Obama had to say at that deal about this notion and the investment here.
Last year in Paris, we announced a new goal to double clean energy research and development along with 19 other countries. Today, I'm pleased that many of your nations will announce your plans to meet that target.
One of those nations, of course, is Canada, and a total of $30 billion a year when you put all those countries together by 2021. Should then sort of Canada and all of these other nations be working together to try to focus those, or do they need to sort of just be national funds that are invested their own way?
I think they can work together. I'm not an expert on this, but I have experience as an entrepreneur, and I get concerned when I think about increasing red tape and making this way too complex and blowing most of the money on bureaucracy and again, red tape. So like I said, try to unleash the funds in such a way that it'll turn to real products and real commercial. So I tried to, I was accepted to be the first owner of the Tesla home battery.
Is that a fact?
Yeah,
I didn't
in
know
Canada.
That.
So it's the first one to be used with solar panels.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on this for 2 weeks as like my side project.
You've got it now?
Well, I'm working on it. I cannot make the math work, though, because once you actually spend all the money, it's going to create jobs in the clean tech sector.
Sure.
Because, you're going to do 4 days of electrician time. But when you get to the end of it, there's not a penny of incentive from the provincial or federal government to generate your own energy and use it for peak times. Yeah. And so I think we need to get to this place where this democratization of energy, where the individual can generate their own energy and not get caught up in all this red tape.
Okay, we've got to move along quickly because I want to get a couple more in here. Rob Carrick at the Globe had this great piece today. There's a memo to the bank that e-transfers are not a fad. Are we still having this debate? I mean, it's astounding to me that why is this taking so long to catch on?
Yeah, I've never even owned a checkbook. I've owned two checkbooks, and I've lost them both.
Really?
So, I mean, and come on, millennials will have money one day, and so banks
They're
need to pay
transferring money
attention to
now.
them. No, exactly. They need to pay attention to people that are using e-transfers and the peer-to-peer economy, which we're seeing growing dramatically through Kijiji and all these platforms. Come on, they're using e-transfers. So
Of course, and I mean, it's only going to get more when people start using their phones to do more banking. It astounds me that somebody like Rob Carrick needs to remind the banks, and some of them are really on board. Some of them have really jumped at this and taken on board. RBC, I think, is one of those. But it's remarkable to me that this is something that sort of somebody needs to wave a flag and say, all right, guys, get on this.
calling it a fad is like calling breathing a fad. I mean, it
Yeah.
just seems so crazy.
And lastly, you were excited about the story that Uber and Lyft have partnered with Walmart to test delivery of groceries. The thing that jumped out at me is are those partnerships between Uber and Lyft, and they're making a lot of different kinds of partnerships. Is that the future for these companies?
Absolutely is, and this is a full optimization of the Uber and Lyft assets, which will just make it more efficient, and it's going to be a great service. Instacart is huge in the United States, and I call it the multitasking of the sharing economy. So it's basically fully optimizing the sharing economy's assets, which is what it represents.
Well, and it's interesting in that it gives Walmart, that's trying to claw into the grocery business and doing a pretty good job, a real asset. If it can figure out a way to have Uber and Lyft drivers bring them to my house, then man, we've got a real deal on the go. Right? Like it's interesting to see a legacy sort of player like Walmart partner with the new uprising like Uber and Lyft.
Well, that's what is interesting, and we talked about banks the other day, and the idea in your brain is, well, this huge corporation, can they really tap into this innovation economy? And I actually would put my money on Walmart being able to do it. I mean, they've done it so many times in the past. They have a low-cost culture.
Yeah.
They've really revolutionized the logistics side of things. So
I look at sort of Uber Pool, stuff like this as ways that Uber and Lyft isn't even playing in a lot of these cities yet, that they indemnify themselves against cities saying, well, you can't do the taxi business, but they're there to exist we're just here to deliver groceries, and they happen to do some rides on the side, because you can't legislate against delivering groceries, certainly. It gives them a break where they might have had some trouble.
They're going to get into so many spaces. They're going to get into delivering medication. They're going to get into delivering so many different things. And I think it's going to be a really, really good thing.
And, I mean, the interesting thing will be what happens with them when automated drivers kick in.
Right.
But that's for another day. All right, Nicole, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Peter.
Coming up after the break, the U.S. unemployment rate has dropped sharply. We'll tell you why that's not necessarily good news for job seekers and the ripple effects for us here at home. TSX rose today as the price of gold jumped.